Hey, thank you. So, yeah, my talk is coming out of the workplace. So a little bit about me. I've been with Confluent for roughly 2 years now, and the last year as a manager. Prior to that, I was with a managed service provider named Instacluster, and then Accenture before that. I have no formal education as a software engineer, but instead I taught myself after taking a related class in the last year of uni. So, if you're not LGBT, you might be wondering, cool topic, but this doesn't apply to me. But actually, most people go through a coming out experience at some point in their life. Some people go through many, and plenty of these happen at the workplace. For one person, their coming out experience might be letting their boss know that they suffer from mental health issues. For another, it might be telling a colleague they're dealing with domestic violence. These coming out experiences have different subjects, but the reason for people staying silent and coming out are often very similar. In this talk, I'd like to share some of the lessons learned on coming out from the queer community, why you should consider coming out, and how these lessons learned can be applied to your situation. So before we get into things, I thought I'd share a few more details about me that my about me left out. First, I'm bisexual. Second, I'm transgender. And third, I suffer from major depressive disorder. These are all things I've had to come out about at some point, sometimes more than once. Granted, coming out as transgender felt like a bit of a bigger deal at the time, but I think coming out gets easier the more times you do it. Either way, I've learned from my mistakes, and I'd like to share that experience with you. So now you know that coming out is something that applies to you. You might be thinking, okay, why should I come out though? Well, first, you'll feel better. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but I can say at the bare minimum, you'll feel free. Free of the burden of keeping a part of you and your experience secret. Second, and more importantly, you'll have access to support. Many workplaces have a number of policies and resources in place for people going through a range of life experiences. These include provisions for carers leave, access to counselors. Heck, my partner gets gender diversity leave that covers things like dealing with paperwork associated with transitioning, surgery, and a range of other things. Third, you'll have access to community within the workplace. I personally know at least 2 other trans women at Confluent, and no one else is gonna get my weird pickle jokes. I swear, it's a thing. Ask a trans girl. Finally, there's pride. Pride in being out, pride in being visible. Nothing beats knowing you're the reason someone felt safe to speak up, safe to be themselves, safe to seek help. And this happens more than you'd think. I've been on both ends of this, and earlier this year I had a girl reach out to me a few months after I gave a speech at Accenture on my own experience of coming out as trans there. It had given them their own courage to begin their own journey coming out in the workforce. So, you've been listening to me ramble for a bit. Now we're at the crux of it, so let's keep it short. Step 1. Find resources. You're going to want something short, a good 1-pager on the subject of your coming out experience, and you're going to want to be able to link people to it on demand. What's pansexual? Is that someone who loves pans? Link. What are your pronouns, or what are pronouns? Link. What is it like being someone who suffers from whatever? Link. Nothing is more cruel than the burden placed on people going through these coming out experiences than the expectation that they educate every man and his dog on the topic. So don't do it. Make them teach themselves. Step 2, find an ally. This might be a favorite work colleague, a manager, or someone who just feels safe. I personally suggest seriously considering anyone with the phrase diversity and inclusion in their title. Those people kick ass. My all-time biggest coming out success was with my friend and colleague Rachel. She was with me every step of the way. She fought so many of my battles, and today she advises on global policies for gender diversity at Accenture. Rachel's a rock star. Step 3, create a plan. A plan can be as simple as a few dot points to discuss with your manager, or as complex as an organization-wide email followed by an instructor-led educational session for your team with a Q&A, while you take much needed vacation. But a plan is vital. Also, that is legit what they offered me at Accenture, and so much regret for not taking it. Step 4, do it. But in case you still need a little inspiration, or you need to see it in practice, on top of being bisexual, transgender, and suffering from major depressive disorder, I'm also non-monogamous, sometimes referred to as polyamorous. For me, that means I'm in a loving relationship with my partner and also with my other partner, both of whom have other loving relationships of their own. If you want to know more about non-monogamy, I'd suggest checking out www.morethan2.com. In particular, I'd suggest checking out their frequently asked questions page. And for anyone working at Confluent, please feel free to ask Sam Hatch. He's been given the rundown. Have a lovely day, everyone, and good luck with your own coming out experiences.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. When you get the chance, you must read the comments. Some really, really amazing comments. I want to just read out one that says, Kathy says she's watching with their 8-year-old daughter and 11-year-old non-binary kid, and they're finding this really helpful too. The 11-year-old plays hockey with mostly boys, so related to a lot of what you spoke about. So thank you. This has been helpful to so many people, and for people who want to be allies as well. So we have one question from Elizabeth. Evelyn, who were some of your champions in coming out at work? And how did your manager support you? I think this will be helpful for us to know how to support our colleagues and coworkers.
Yeah, so first of all, my friend Rachel that I mentioned, so she worked with me at my first job at Accenture, and she was actually the first person I came out to out of anyone, not just in the workforce, as trans. And so she, like I said, she fought so many battles for me. She represented me in so many different ways, helped me step through it. But in other places, I think Confluent's probably a good example. With Confluent, I guess I never felt the need to come out as trans. It's just, I've always been very open about being trans. And, the big things that they do is they just, they support me when people get pronouns wrong or things like that. And it's really just normalized. But a good example would be coming out as non-monogamous to my boss, which was quite a scary experience. And he was the first person that I came out to at Confluent, but was just generally supportive. And when I told him about this, he was thrilled about it. And he's also just stepped up as the executive, or one of the executive sponsors of the LGBT inclusion program as part of Confluent's diversity and inclusion program. I'm not sure if I'm getting the wording on that right, but I think a lot of people are just they're ready to step up and be supportive. People will amaze you. Probably my favorite story is, and I'll try and keep it really quick. When coming out at Accenture, I remember having this colleague who was devoutly Muslim and would pray morning and evening. And after I came out, at the time, it was so uncomfortable because I was like a bodybuilder and had just gotten rid of my beard, and it was a pretty traumatizing experience. But he came up to me and took me aside and said that if I ever needed anything, he was always available and there to be supportive. People really care.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so, someone else commented that they're non-monogamous. So definitely when you get the chance, please do take a look at the chat. So many great comments for you. Quickly, one last question. What is something you think people shouldn't ask or shouldn't say? What's the one thing that people ask you and you feel like, oh my gosh, don't?
There's always one with everything. Like I said, I got that question when I came out as pansexual to colleagues. Like I remember them joking about like pansexual being people who were in like attracted to pans. I've had a lot of people. The big one for me, which always blows my mind, is when people ask me about what surgeries I'm gonna get with my body parts, and I'm like, it is no more appropriate for you to ask me about my genitals as it would be for me to ask you about your genitals. So please don't. But I think just asking for good educational research and doing the research yourself is good. There's so much burden placed on people when they're coming out, and it's so unfair to get these questions all of the time.
Yeah, definitely. So I had a feeling that's what you would say when I asked this question. So thank you so much, Evelyn, for your honesty, for the education you just provided. All right, so thank you. That was a great talk.
Absolute pleasure.